All right, good morning, everyone. So, in this session, we're going to look at the Android device manager. That's this particular icon here. So, when you click on it, this window appears. So, what is device manager? Now, as the name implies, is a tool in Android Studio that helps us to manage our devices, that helps us to manage our physical device and our virtual device, all of the devices that are connected to Android Studio with which you test your applications, right? So there's the physical, that's your physical gadgets that are connected, Android based gadgets that are connected to the Android Studio platform, and also the virtual devices, that's the devices that are running within inside uh, your operating system, right? That's your desktop operating system. So we're going to look at how to set up a virtual device and how to set up a physical device and every other related or relevant information that has to do with the device manager as well. So now, if you notice that when we downloaded Android Studio, in the process of downloading the Android SDK, there's also we're able to download the emulator, right? Now that emulator that we downloaded alongside the Android SDK is actually the emulator engine, right? So that engine alone is not sufficient to run the it's not sufficient to run the Android virtual device, right? So it is just an engine. So more like what VMware does, right? For example, if you want to run Linux in a Windows operating system, so you need an engine that will help you run that um, virtual OS. So that engine is actually VMware, right? That's if you are talking about desktop operating systems, virtualizing a desktop operating system. Now, in this case, we are virtualizing a mobile operating system, which is Android. So we need an emulator engine. So that was what we downloaded when we installed Android Studio, right? We downloaded it alongside the Android SDK. So what we are going to be downloading now is the image, right? The system image. And I'm going to explain the difference between the two of them, right? So the very first thing we do is to, now if you come here, you can see that there's no connected device. We don't have a physical device that is connected, and we do not have a an emulator that is downloaded, right? So now emulator and virtual device, I'm actually going to be using both words interchangeably, so they mean the same thing. An emulator is a virtual device, so don't be confused at my the fact that I'm using both interchangeably. So, first things first. Now, to create a new device, all we need to do is to click on this plus sign here to add a new device. You can either click on this or this, actually serving the same purpose. So, create a virtual device. Select create it. So, it's going to give you a list of several available devices, right? And you can download for tablets, for Wear OS, for desktop. But for now, we are looking at just phones, that of phones. So you're going to see different devices and of course where we are downloading from and the API level, right? The width, the height, the density. So now API just simply stands for, it actually refers to the Android version, right? That we are using. So API 24, it actually refers to corresponds to Android 7. That's Nogcat. I think that's the name. And Android has this convention of using a particular recipe to indicate an Android version, right? Eh, just like Android Studio uses animal names. So Android OS, there's actually a naming convention that uses a particular recipe, I mean food, to signify an Android version. So I think this one is Android 7. No, 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 not I think. It actually is Android 7. That's API 24 stands for Android 7. API 35 is actually Android 15. Android 15. Yes. API 34 is Android 14. 33 is Android 13. And the list goes on. Right. I think Android 14, the code name for Android 14 is upside down kick. Right. So there's just a recipe that stands for each. So don't be um, overwhelmed when you see all of this API level. It's actually the Android version that runs on that particular device. So this is the list for now. I think Android 7 is the cutoff. Right. If you recall, when we created the project, you can see that the list available Android version there is Android 7. So presently, I think that's the cutoff. So and that's what API 24 stands for, right? So let's just go for Android 14 since Android 14 is still a little bit stable. Is yeah stable. Yes. So we're gonna pick one of them. Uh, I think okay. Let's pick Pixel 8a and then click on next. Okay, so we don't really need to make any changes here. Let me go back. I don't think. Let me just go for Pixel 9. Okay, so we have Pixel 9 API 36. That's Android 15. Sorry about that. Android 15, and then we'll click on finish. Yeah. So it's gonna bring this pop up on the screen. So we're going to accept this. Click on yes. So it's going to download the image. We have already downloaded the engine when we downloaded the Android SDK. So this is the image. The image is similar to an ISO file. If you are very familiar with how to virtualize an operating system, the ISO file, ISO.iso rather file is actually the system image. So that is what we are doing. That is what we are downloading here. So it's going to take a while. It's 1.8 gig. So I'm just going to pause this recording to and continue when the download is done. All right, guys. So the stuff is complete. So just click on finish and the virtual device will start. Right. Okay, no. All we need to do is come here and click on the start button. And it moves, so you can see the selection moves to the running device. So it will should come up now. I think it's still booting, still starting up. So just give it some time to boot up. Okay, so while we're waiting for the emulator to come up, so welcome back, guys. So sorry about that brief interruption. So we are done with our downloads and the virtual device is running, the emulator is up and running, and we can test our applications with this virtual device. So before we go ahead and test our application, let me just quickly show you. Now, to now let me just show you where this stuff is saved on the computer and show you the difference. No, I said it earlier that I was going to explain the difference between the engine, right, and this particular uh, virtual device, right, so that you understand what we downloaded at first and what we have just downloaded. So the engine is actually they are both located in the SDK folder. Now, if you look at go to your C drive and okay, go to user. In my case, the user is admin. So in your own case, it might be your name. So go to this application data. Now, usually this application data, the folder is hidden, right? You can see it's gray, it's a bit gray, right? So just in case you get to this point and then you cannot, you don't have access to the app data folder, right? So what you need to do, all you need to do rather, is to come to this, go to view, click on show, and then check this particular option here, item here, hidden item. So when you check it, the app data and the application data and other hidden files or hidden folders will now be displayed. So since it's already checked, I have my app data here. So you click on it, click on local, and then come to Android. So that's where the you can see the Android SDK. That's where it was saved. So this is the emulator engine that we downloaded with the SDK, right? This is what we just downloaded now. You can see the file is about 2.28 gigs. Pardon me. Um, Now, one thing about Android Studio is that the API level of the emulator that you downloaded and its corresponding API level, right? It will treat each of those um, virtual device that you downloaded separately, as it's going to create a separate folder for a particular API level of an emulator. Now, let me just quickly explain that in case it's sounding a bit confusing. So let's assume we want to download, because like I said, you can download as many virtual devices as possible. Let's quickly, okay, so come to this point. I click on create any virtual device. So if I'm downloading an API 29, for example, an emulator with API 29, so Android Studio is going to create a separate folder here for that particular version. So this is Android API 36, right? We downloaded, which one did you even download again? Okay, you can see. Sorry, let me quickly go. You can see the API level of the one we downloaded is 36. That's why we have 30. Sorry, let me quickly close this. That's why we have 36 here. So if I'm downloading API 29, there's going to be another folder for that API that I downloaded for that emulator with a different API. So a different folder for each of the API levels of emulator we downloaded. So that's just how Android Studio works. So what was I even explaining? Okay, so back to this. So you can see they are different. So this is the engine, like, and this is the image. So this is what allows this to run. Right? But they are both in the Android folder, the SDK folder. So that's that. So let's quickly test this our application on our virtual device that we just downloaded. So if I click on, all I need to do is click on play, right? So this actually builds this particular option. I guess I didn't explain it in details. So this is what, okay, we are still going to talk about it later. Right? So this is what helps us to build our APK, our Android app bundle, that's AAB, and our APK. Right. Now the APK is just your file package, your all of your code, configurations, everything packaged together in a singular file that you can share to anyone, right? And the person will install it in his or her Android phone and it will work the same way, right? So, but we are not going to be using this now since what we are doing is just testing. So, this is what we do. This is what we are going to use rather. So, let's come to, okay, let's come to running devices. So, our device is running. Let's just minimize it a bit. So, you can also increase the size, right? And there's a way to make it stand alone. Let me just show you how to do that. As to take it off from, okay, we'll talk about that later. Maybe when we are done with this explanation. So just press the play button and give it a few minutes and it's going to run. So you can see it says launching on devices successfully installed. This the Hello World app that we created a while ago. Let's just quickly go to the uh, so, I said earlier that project actually gives you a complete view of the um, Android Studio. What's it called? Project structure, build structure. So, in my own opinion, I think it's best to use Project View because it gives you everything you need, everything that is part and parcel of your application is going to show you everything. Right? Unlike Android View, that is just like a shortcut that just gives you what they believe you need, right? The files that you don't have to you don't they kind of take away other unimportant files. Let me just put it that way, and give you the ones that you'll be working with. But in Project View, you have everything, all of your files, including the ones that you might not be working with. So everything is here. So this is what I prefer. I prefer to use the Project View. So if you click on main activity, you can see it displays Hello World. Hello Android rather. It's hello world. So that is what that's this code, this starter code that was automatically created when we created our project. Right. So so the next thing is to set up a physical device. So this is a virtual device. So we need a physical device. Now you might want to ask, if I have a virtual device, why do I need a physical device? The truth is, it is recommended to always test your app using a physical device, right? Because as good as the emulator is, it doesn't give you the full experience of how that app will function in a physical device. Because at the end of the day, users are not going to use a virtual device to test your application. They are going to use their real device, their physical devices. So if you want to know how that app will work 100%, if you want to have 100% real time experience of how your app will function on a physical device, it's best to test on a physical device, right? And so Android Studio makes it very easy for us to do that, right? We don't have to install an APK and test every time. No, we can test directly from our development window. We can test directly as we are developing. So how do we do that? Now let's just quickly let me. So this is the stop button. So when I click on this, the application stops. Sorry, I forgot to add. When we are running our application, everything is displayed in this log cart. You can see this log cart of all the logs are displayed here, and you can search for a particular log. Let's say alarm manager. You can just come here and paste it here. So it's going to like sort of sort it for you. Right? It's going to pick out this particular search field that you imputed here. I'm going to bring out everything that is relevant to that search field. So that's the way it works. We're still going to treat this separately, but let's just minimize this for now. And then, so, so the first thing you need to do is to let's just close this and go to device manager. First thing you need to do is to go to settings on your phone. So what I'm going to do now is quickly I'm going to quickly project my phone on the screen. So let me pause this recording while I'm doing that. So welcome back, guys. So this is my phone. I'm currently projecting my phone to my PC. So the first thing to do is to go to settings, right, on your mobile phone. Now it depends on the particular phone that you are using. So in my case, I'm using itel. So if you click on my phone, now you go to build number. So this is actually what we're targeting. This build number. You can see it here, this particular build number. So so what you need to do is to click on it 6 times. Now I've done that already. So you can see it's saying no need, you're already a developer. But if you have not done that, it's going to show you the number of times that you have clicked on it. So when you get to the 6th time, it's going to say congratulations, you are now a developer. So once you are done with that, you go back to system, and then you can see this developer option here. So if you have not pressed the developer option 6 times, you're not going to have this, right? Sorry, if you have not pressed that build number rather 6 times, you're not going to have this developer option here. It's not going to be displayed. So once I click on it, so the very first thing you want to do is to turn it on. So I think at the initial stage it will be off. So all you need to do is turn it on, use developer option, then come down to USB debugging. So this is what will enable us to debug our app on our phones with a USB. So once I click on it, okay, allow USB debugging, and then we are good to go. So the next thing is now to connect your USB, to connect your phone to your system using a USB cable, which I'm doing right now. So and that's it. So it gives us this particular, so I don't have to enable file transfer. Just take off that screen and then minimize it. So you can see the moment I connect my USB, I have my physical device running here. So I can use this to test as well. So all I need to do is to select it. It's automatically selected. Now, because the way Android Studio was is that the physical device is always a priority, right? So that's just it. So once I click on it and go back to my phone, okay, still Sorry, just give me a minute. Uh, okay, so you can see the application is running on my phone. That's this Hello World application. So let me just minimize this so that you can have both screens. So this is my phone. Let me quickly minimize this. So and this is Android Studio. So I can come here and change it to. Let me quickly close this tab. I come to this point and just change it to hello. This is my first application, and then run it. So this is still my phone, still running on my phone. So it's building. So let's just give it a while. Okay, I think because of what I'm projecting, because of the fact that I'm projecting my phone. So okay, it's still running. Let's just give it some time. Testing, 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 testing. All right, so you can see, hello, this is my first application. So that's it. That's how to set up a physical device and a virtual device. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. I'll see you in the next video. All right, welcome back. So this is my phone. I'm actually projecting